Well, I'm Sian Mitchell. I'm the Festival Director of the Melbourne Women in Film Festival. I'm also a film lecturer at a place called SAE Creative Media Institute in South Melbourne. So I've been teaching particularly film studies, cultural studies to film production students for about 10 years or so now. I love teaching in my job. I love engaging students in film. That's heaps of fun. But I was doing it for a very long time. And so I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to be more involved in Melbourne's screen culture, and so I started the festival about 3 years ago in 2016. There's always been an inequality in the number of women working within the industry, but also particularly in roles of leadership. For example, so the key creative roles like a director or a producer or a cinematographer. I think the other issue too is that we hear about the male directors, for example, more than we hear about the women. There were these women working, but we're not hearing about them in the bigger spectrum of film history. So there's an imbalance of power between men and women in a lot of different areas. I think that women seem to be in greater numbers in documentary production and also in producing roles, rather than perhaps things like directing or what's considered more technical sort of roles like cinematography or editing, although they are still incredibly creative. Well, I think that there has been some improvement, and Screen Australia has sort of done a target check on how they're going with trying to get to that level of equality. There has been some improvement, but there still needs to be much more. We get funding from Film Victoria, so we get funding from the state government, and they have a real focus on trying to do something about the issue of inequality in terms of gender, as well as diversity, just more generally. As I said earlier, wanting to get more involved in Melbourne's screen culture, but also provide a platform for my female students to be able to see work by other women. And it's been really great too, because some of my students, graduate students, have put films into our festival that we've screened as well. So they're actually entering the festival, they're seeing other women's work, and so that's what really excites me about working on the festival, is seeing the community of filmmakers get really excited for each other's work and meeting one another and talking about what they do, and feeling the freedom in which to do that. We do research on our audience. We, only being 3 years old, we are still building up that kind of research and that data on our audience and where we might like to head in terms of the gaps that we see in our audience. So at the moment, we provide programs and films and sessions and discussions and workshops that are targeted for an audience that want to see something a little bit perhaps different to what's in mainstream cinema, to see a woman's perspective on a story, which is of course one of the problems highlighted within the industry more broadly. That kind of more diverse range of those sorts of perspectives. So we do have a very large female audience because of that. But at the same time, we do really want to also try to broaden our audience out to beyond filmmakers, beyond women, to male audiences, because the films that we're playing are great. Like they're great films. In terms of continuing, because we've seen how much fun it is. Even actually in the process of organising there's a lot of going and meeting people and talking to people about potential program ideas, partnership ideas, what we can kind of do with our events and things like that. And so meeting people and being able to keep doing that and learning from other people throughout this process is probably one of the biggest reasons that we like to keep going with it. I find a personal satisfaction in doing. I suppose an example of that was meeting a wonderful producer out of this called Sue Maslin, who produced the film The Dressmaker. She is one of the biggest champions of Australian women's filmmaking in this country. She was one of the original founders of Wish Victoria. And so I've been able to meet with her a couple of different times in various contexts and talk to her, and she's got just a wealth of knowledge and experience. And we were able to organise through her a scholarship to give one of our filmmakers this year to do a masterclass on creative leadership, which we've just finalised. And so doing stuff like that, that's the reason I want to, keep doing this festival. One of them anyway. What would I say to female filmmaking students? I would say keep making the films that you want to make, keep making the stories that you want to make, regardless of what anybody tells you. You need to keep making them because we need to keep seeing them and we want to play them at our festival. So keep doing it, please.